Hey guys, Nick Schultz here from Crank Software, and I'm here to talk to you about a new piece that the guys in R&D here have developed called the Storyboard I/O connector and a new tool for managing your events. So what we have here is one of our sample applications. You might be familiar with this cluster sample. It ships with all of our installers, and we've used it for a couple videos in the past. And what happens out of the box with this sample is we have a UI that has a couple dials built in, some gauges around it, and a lot of pieces that are just waiting to be updated with live data from some form of back-end system. If you were to think automotive, probably from a CAN bus, or if you're just testing out communication back and forth, it could be another storyboard application or simulator program. Either way, it doesn't really matter, but the whole point of this is to get data into the UI. So where the Storyboard I/O connector comes in is this is a new piece that will open up the events file in your application, parse the data, and allow you to inject events from the UI. So you see here on the right, I have a panel called SBIO. And if I click that, it's already populated with the cluster update event, which is something that comes with this sample by default. It has values in it for speed, RPM, fuel, battery, oil, odometer. And there's some sliders around here that allow you to toggle these values. So if I go ahead and I run this, and I pin our application to the top here, you can see now that I can inject events such as speed directly from my design environment. So this saves the need of you having to export to an embedded system or run a simulator program in the background or use our IOGen or IOReceive command line utilities from this way. So it makes developing and designing a lot easier. You're able to inject data straight from your design tool in an area that you might be familiar with. And I've also gone and I've modified this sample to have the fuel sliders, as well as the battery, and then oil values as well. And what this looks like, since we've seen the ability to inject events, we have to have the ability to define them. So what many of you might be familiar with is defining a format string, which you see here, to describe serialized data that gets sent across the SBIO connection into the UI. We've now built a new interface for editing our events. So if you see here in the top panel, we can open that up. And now we have the ability to add custom events, describe their payload. So in our case, we've built up a format string. We can add speed, RPM, and also add min and max values that will help define what shows up in our SBIO connector piece over here. So that's pretty awesome. It'll save a lot of time. The guys here are pretty excited about getting this out into the real world so all of you can start playing with it. But I figured since we're already here, we might go through the steps of adding a new event and then hooking up something else. So if we switch back to our application, I've already built up some animations for toggling the left and the right arrows. So if you wanted to send events for the indicators, and if we go down to our animation timeline, you can see there's very simple animations. I'll preview that where you can step through it. You see we glow on and then we glow off. So you can see we've got left indicator, right indicator. So we'll go through and we'll add a new event if we want to be able to toggle this data. So if we open up our event editor, I'm going to create a new event. I'm going to call it indicator. The type is an incoming event, so it's coming in from some form of backend. We can throw in a meaningful description here. And then we can start defining a little bit of data. So in this case, I want to be able to control the left and the right. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to give us a name here. So left, I'm going to select a 1 byte unsigned integer, so we can just toggle. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set some min, some max values. So in this case, we're only ever going to be sending a 1 or a 0 for on and off. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the right. Right, again, a 1 byte unsigned integer. And we'll set our min and our max. I'll say finish. We've now created an indicator event. Save everything. Close our editor here. Now within Storyboard Designer, I can go ahead and I can hook that new event up. So if I go ahead and I select our application, go over to our Actions panel, I can go ahead and I can add an action. We're going to use that indicator event that we just created. I'm going to use a Lua callback. I've already created a Lua function to handle triggering these animations called CB indicator event. I'm going to say finish. And then if we go ahead, we save everything, simulate again. You can see in our drop down over here, we have the indicator event that we defined. Now we can go ahead and we can trigger true, true, false, different values for our indicator components. We can also continue to modify our cluster values that we had with the cluster update event already part of it. And as you can see, you can now go ahead and start building up your UI with simulated data, and you don't even need to leave the design environment. So we're pretty excited about this. We can't wait for you to get it in your hands and start building new exciting UIs with this technology. And we're really hoping that this helps speed things up for you and make things even easier. So thanks again for your time, and thanks for listening, guys. Bye.